Okay, we're working on our picture of using the grid method to recreate a realistic photo. And this is a great example of being able to size up or size down a picture, because even though these are the same number of squares and same size of square, they are scaled up. So we're going to use this. We already started. So one thing we're going to do to make it easier is we're going to go ahead and number and label our squares. Just start up here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to go down the side just like a map, and we're going to use letters. A, B, C, D, E, F. That way it's just easier when I refer to a certain square, I can say, okay, 3B3, this square, that's what we're working on here. All right, so we're going to do the same thing to our blank grid paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and put your letters and your numbers on your paper to make it easier when we reference it. So the first thing we're going to work on is we're just going to outline her. We're going to start either on the left side or the top. And I started working on this already a little bit, but we're going to go through it. And I'm going to start, you can start with just the top row. It's best if you can isolate some of it so you don't try to overstep. Just take it one square at a time. And I'm going to start here on the left, row 1. So I'm going to look at my square, same square that is I'm working on here, and I'm going to ask myself, okay, where does this line start? Starts about a quarter of the way up. So on my grid, that's where I'm going to start. And the line goes out, not quite, about halfway. So that's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to try to recreate this contour a little bit. And kind of goes up and over. That's it. That's all I need to do for that one. Next square, we've got this little corner here. Okay, it goes up and then it goes out about as much. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm not adding any detail at all right now. I'm gonna go ahead and scoot over because as you can see, there's really not much more on this row that I need to work on right here. Okay, so now I'm on row 2. E2, that's where I'm heading now. So I'm going to ask myself, according to this picture, about how far does this come over? It her shoulder line comes over almost to the edge of the square. So that's what I'm going to do. And it only angles up slightly from where it entered in. So I'll make myself a little dot. Right now I'm just blocking off space. But now we have her hairline. I'm not going to do the details of her hair. I'm just going to look at the space that it takes up. Okay, a little bit close to the corner here, and it meets that line that we already created. So here, but then it kind of goes in and out. That's all I'm doing for right now. We're moving up to D2. Okay, I'm going to follow this line up. Again, I'm not going to do any of the detail. Her hair kind of bumps all the way over there, but it curves out. All right, I'm up to C2. And when I look over at this picture here, her hairline kind of comes in and it's a little bit to the right of middle. So that's what I'm going to do over here. Goes out and then to the right of middle. Okay. I'm going to come back and add that detail later. Okay, I'm going to keep on moving. So, right up here, C2. That's what we just did. Now we're up here to B2. Okay, so her hairline, it's about the middle of the square, and it leaves almost at the corner up at the top. So that's what we're going to do. Which, as I realized that was about the middle, I didn't quite bring this out enough, which is fine. Can adjust that. Okay. Her hair kind of goes straight up and then curves in. Now on A2, there's barely anything in this square, but we're going to go ahead and add that a little bit. And as I'm looking, I realize, oh, I've come in too far. That's no problem. That's why we have erasers. Okay, I'm just going to erase that. I'm going to add that little corner in there. And I could really bump out a little bit as I'm looking at it because her hair it's kind of curly. Now normally you're going to want to draw these really, really light, but I want you to be able to see it, so that's why I'm doing it a little bit darker. All right, we're going to column 3, square A. So we're going to look at our reference drawing, 3A. Okay, we've got the top of her hairline. It is not up to the halfway part of the square. It kind of has a gentle sloping up to almost the middle of the square, okay? And then we've got this little diagonal back line for her hairline. So I'm going to add that too. So again, we think it comes about up to the middle. So we're going to slightly diagonal up. Now I want to look at this hairline again. So where I stopped, it comes in just slightly. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. If you have something under your paper, like I realize I just do, you need to move that. It's going to affect the texture of your drawing. Okay, we can always come back and adjust these. Alright, I feel like that needs to go over a bit as I'm eyeballing it. Okay, we're on to 4A. Okay, let's look at our reference picture. We're going to continue with her hairline about halfway up this particular square, and it just barely bumps up a little bit. It's mostly a horizontal line there. So there we go. That's all we need to do for that square. 5A. Alright, we're going to keep on going around all the way around the outside of her hairline, and then we're going to come in and we're going to work on the inside. So I'm going to skip this side right now for my drawing because I've actually already completed that over here for you, and I'm going to show you how we go back and do the face. Alright, so I'm going to start by basically just kind of shaping out, but we're also using the squares. So I've got F on the reference drawing. I have F3, so on my paper I need to find F3. You have to make sure you're working on the same squares. So I've got that little bit of a pearl necklace here, and to me it comes up almost to the top of the square. It fills up a lot of the square if you look at this picture here, and it almost looks like the front half of a Nike check. How far does it go? Not quite to the edge of the line. Okay, so that's all we're going to do for that. And then we've got this little negative space where her neck is. So we're going to add that in. Okay. Alright, now we're going to come up with her neckline. We're still in F3. It just comes straight up. And that necklace is down a little bit. Alright, again, these lines are getting a little dark. Okay, so neckline. We're continuing on with E3. Starting here where we left off on the square below, and it just needs to come up about 2/3 of the way. We're a little bit left of center. Okay. Then we need to add in her chin line. Look how close it is to the edge of the square, to that corner. And then it comes down and then kind of flattens out. So that is what we're going to do, which means I'm going to have to erase some of that neckline. I made it a little too long, but that's fine. So it comes down and then flattens out. Right now it looks pretty crazy, but that's fine. We're going to come back and add the details. Alright, we're just right here. This is the square we're working on. So as I'm looking at it, I can see that it needs to come down a lot farther, well, a little bit farther, and erase some of those scribble lines. Okay, now we're going to come back up to D3. Okay, we've got just this tiny little itty bitty triangle that we're going to exclude. That's as it continues the sides of her jaw. Boop. That's all. All right, now we're up here. We've moved over. I went ahead and moved over to D2. Same row, different column. And on this side, even where we had that little tiny black square excluded, we've got this little tiny light colored square included to continue her cheek line. And we've got our little half circle right about the middle of this square for her pearl earring that we'll come back and do later. All right, we're going to continue up. We're on C2. So we're working on this. Now look how close it stays to the line. It's almost parallel. It's a little bit wider here and comes in and gets thinner as it goes up. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, now I'm moving on to B2. Got this tiny little bitty wedge right here of her forehead that creeps into that line. Does not come up halfway, so we'll mimic that. Okay, I'm moving over to B2.